to this nation and watch an unelected man, Elon Musk, Zeke Heil, on the world stage during inauguration. I do have a petition for Mike Lee to resign for betrayal of constituent trust. You can find it on change.org, and I have flyers that have a QR code that you can follow that will take you right to it. You can see me after, and I would be happy to share that with any of you. I'm really trying to get more signatures so we can get Mike Lee's attention. He refuses to pay attention to us. As you can see, none of these people care about their constituents in the way that they should. What does that say?
30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay. All right. Senators Mike Lee, John Curtis, and Congresswoman Celeste Maloy. Deportation is a civil process that affords all people on U.S. soil the right to due process. That is not what the Trump administration is currently doing. What the Trump administration is doing is called extraordinary rendition. This is a violation of international law and our human rights violations. Extraordinary rendition is also illegal under United States Constitution and statutory law. Trump has publicly defied the Supreme Court's 9-0 ruling that his administration must effectuate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Trump is now held in criminal contempt of the court, creating a constitutional crisis. Trump has revealed his plan during a meeting in the Oval Office with El Salvador President Bukele to perform extraordinary renditions of United States citizens. If Trump can do this to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he can do it to you. He can do it to me. He can do it to anyone. Representative Lee, Curtis, and Maloy, impeachment and removal of the President of the United States is now your duty in order to protect the U.S. Constitution and your constituents. Senators and Congresswomen, will you stand up in your privilege and exert your courage to defend us? We everyday people have no choice but to have courage. We're behind you if you can stand up for us. I am in favor of drafting, introducing, and holding impeachment proceedings in the House and Senate and removal of Trump from office in order to protect democracy and the people from this authoritarianism. Representatives, when can we expect you to represent all of your constituents and protect the United States Constitution by use of the impeachment process? Thank you.
Okay, 130, 143 or 138? It just 129, 123. Can you guys see that in the back?
I'm 138.
Come on up.
No.
138 is next.
Yep. Come on up. I believe 142 and 143 I don't think anyone has those numbers unless somebody has. 142, 143. Okay, so we're starting with 138.
So, my name is Kim Brocky.
Can't hear you.
Oh, yeah, so, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Kim Brocky is my name, and I'm upset with pretty much every issue. There's so many that, I don't know. But I tried to concentrate on Elon Musk and what Doge is doing, because it's the most damaging, I feel, in all. And so my question to the representatives is...
Can you speak into the microphone? Thank you so much.
Reminded me, I'm not used to this. To the representatives, given Elon Musk's prominent role in Doge, how does Congress plan to address the potential conflicts of interest and ensure that such initiatives do not undermine public trust or lead to market manipulation? I have a few examples. Recently, one of the Doge initiatives faced scrutiny. A judge in Baltimore issued a temporary injunction limiting the access to the Social Security data by Doge.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, the privacy and security concerns. The legal action underscores the need for legislative oversight and to balance efficiency and protection of our rights. And another issue, Musk's endorsement of in Pennsylvania at a town hall, so it must have been around the time of the vote that they just had there. There was a 15% surge in cryptocurrency value. Yeah. And so right there, there's a concern of him manipulating the markets. And what are you going to do about that? And then last, it's just highlighting the need to do the job that they're supposed to do that they're not doing, which is to establish clear regulations about these issues and prevent conflicts of interest, which is a whole nother basket of stuff that he's probably getting out of our government. And these representatives need to watch those conflicts of interest and protect our public rights as citizens. We are the people.
That's a really good point. The cybersecurity you spoke of too, at Doge, last week there was something on the news about a whistleblower at the National Labor Relations Board, and he was the only one speaking out, and he was afraid. He was speaking on, I think it was on Rachel Maddow, had his attorney with him, and that was kind of the line of work I did in the past, so I know what the census data is that businesses have to turn in at the end of the year. It has very personal information about their business, if they're a contractor, list the number of employees they have, their gross receipts, their revenue, stuff like that. That's, anyone in business in Russia would love to have that information if they wanted to counter. And Doge had come in and had turned off access to it, but then opened up access to this server for a brief period of time, but they saw a spike in outgoing data during that short period of time, and some of the data was being pinged from Russia, which is scary stuff. Okay.
129.
129.
Hi, my name is Tina Heward, and tonight I'm actually going to talk about those that cannot use their voice. Those are the most vulnerable. I work with children. I'm a registered nurse. And what they're doing, our current Health and Human Secretary is destroying what years and years of science has been put together. And it should be really scary for each of us, what's happening. The BS about they're gonna find the cause of autism by September. Why aren't they listening to the scientists that already know, right?
Yeah.
Right, it's ridiculous. Another thing is cutting services to Head Start. This is 750,000 children across the nation that are in need. What's gonna happen to these kids if they don't get that early start? They don't get the help that they need. That's what I do here in St. George, and I invite any of you guys to come over and see what we do. We help with hearing, vision, child exams, making sure that parents know what to do with their kids. There is no manual when you have a baby. We need these programs to help, right? Cutting Medicaid, hello, when people are down on their luck, right? What's gonna happen to Medicare? Is there gonna be Social Security when I'm old enough there? People here that are already eligible for it, right? What the heck is going on? And I'm shaking and I'm scared to be talking, but I knew that I could not stay home and not share. Because every night, just as this wonderful gentleman states, I sit home and I watch the news and I'm depressed by it. And I feel so anxious and so angry. But it's good to see all of you guys here because I'm not alone. So we just have to keep going.
Thank you for speaking on the cuts to education. My wife is a school teacher, so I know what IEPs are, individual education plans, right? For kids that have been left behind and that need an extra boost. And these cuts are really gonna do some damage. 123. Thank you for bringing that up.
Hi everybody, my name is Elisa Christensen. I'm a cardiac nurse at the hospital here, and I'm also a mother of 4. This is my first town hall, and I'm really nervous about it, but I really appreciated what you shared about all the concern with what is happening with JFK Jr. And I have 2 children that are on the neurodivergent spectrum, and I am very concerned about that. It's concerning that Utah says that they're going to remove fluoride out of the water. Just the amount of people who might not be able to afford dental care, this is really a big concern. Also, I grew up kind of a third culture kid. My dad worked for the Department of State, U.S. State Department, and I grew up in lots of different places around the world, and diplomacy is a huge thing. And when we cut U.S. aid, when we cut off our allies, it's a threat to our country, and that's a really big concern too. I think we need to think of the collective humanity, and I was interested in attending this group because it said it was bipartisan. And I think it's really important for all of us to remember that we need to just elevate ourselves and to try to be the better person. There's so much dissent, so much animosity, and so much dehumanizing of other people. And I think that when we speak, even if we don't appreciate what other people are saying, that we need to respect them as a person and to recognize that where they're coming from. So when we speak about others or speak about others to people who think like us or whoever, let's just remember that they're people too. And that's what I'm trying to teach my children. I think that's all I had to say.
Thank you for speaking on diplomacy. You know, the cuts to USAID, you know, they were providing meds for tuberculosis that none of us have to deal with in this country, but in Africa they have to deal with that, and that is going to come back to our shores.
There's actually an outbreak in, I think, Kansas or somewhere. Texas, yeah.
And measles.
Yeah, oh yeah. And RFK even said something about vaccines. Sorry, like right, he's so anti-vaccine, but didn't he like recommend actually no, you should get vaccines for measles or something? That's what he said.
Yeah. It's so impractical. It's just impractical, right? It's immoral, but it's also just impractical. Someone's going to have to clean up the mess.
Yep.
124.
I'm gonna need the mic.
All right.
The mic stand on the
Right.
stand. Thank you so much for hosting this. I'm a 50%er. I live 50% down here and 50% in the Salt Lake Valley. And I love this area of the country. I love it down here, I love it there. Half of my grandchildren are here. Quickly, a little bit about my background. I grew up not in the state of Utah, in Seattle, Washington. And I lived in a much more diverse area. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. I grew up in a very diverse atmosphere, even though I was a member of the majority church that's in this state. And my husband and I both don't have grandparents that were in World War II. We have parents that were in World War II. I'm old, okay? And I think if we spent 1 minute going around this room and each of us talked about a separate topic of concern about this administration, not even this 4 years, but the 4 years before, we would take a long time and we wouldn't even cover all the individual topics. Back 4 years ago, I lost the ability to talk to my other 3 siblings about politics. They were ready to cut me off, but I said, no, I love you. I'll never stop loving you, but I won't talk politics. Then about 3 months ago, I sent a text to one of my sisters, just a simple one about, look at all the money they've been having to spend on wildfires and they want to cut that. And then I immediately got bombarded with all kinds of things that I couldn't even read from the current White House. So I don't talk about politics there, and my dear husband has always warned me, just, you know, take it easy if you go to these town halls, okay? Well, and so I'm real the rebel rouser here with my little sign. But after all, thinking about all of those topics, every one of those topics, and knowing about World War II, my husband's a huge student of World War II, but he likes more of the strategy. I like more of the human aspect of it more. Don't like to really read about it, but I've taken books from discard piles of public libraries that are about World War II and read them. The trials at Nuremberg. Right now I'm 3/4 of the way through the speeches of Winston Churchill. One of the most beautiful speeches that Winston Churchill said was when he gave a eulogy when President Franklin Delano Roosevelt died. And he talked about the closeness between the United States of America and his country, Great Britain. And how Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the country that he represented were so loyal to all of the principles of freedom, of fairness, of the rule of law, independence, and all of the things that need to be done to create a good nation. So I look now at the principles. Talked to my husband a few days ago. I said, what came first, democracy or the Constitution? Well, the principles of democracy came back from way back with the Greeks. But everybody, you know, this many million people in our country can't vote for every little thing, whether or not to put, you know, a pipeline in, or we have representatives that do that for us. I'll be there really quickly. I'm here today to say that we gotta stop fighting against the little things. These little things will be drawn up and sued and will be stopped in the courts for years. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, but our individual concerns are nothing compared with the fear for and the loss we are not thinking will happen, but as is happening now, with the loss of our democracy and the outright flagrant disobedience to the Constitution of the United States of America. We need to be saying, bring back our democracy, bring back our Constitution. I put the word fear here. I was gonna put I love. I put fear, and that was for my husband. I would like to have a much stronger word, a much more strong. This grandma wants to fight for our democracy.
Sorry. I'm gonna follow the lines of our fearless grandma. My name is Stephanie Watson. My family has been here from the very beginning of the Constitution. My great-great-great-great-grandfather fought and signed the Declaration of Independence. My family has fought in every single war since the beginning of this country to defend this country and what it believes in. Right now, our country is in danger, and I came to speak to Celeste, Maloy, and Senator Curtis because I don't believe that Mike Lee will listen. And I'm going to ask them to stand up with me and defend our democracy, like Grandma said, to stand up and protect our balance of powers. Like Grandma said, that the rest of it is they're little things. We have fought for our country. We can fight through the small things. We've lived through concentration camps. We've lived through the Trail of Tears. We've lived through recessions. We've lived through so many hardships. And, you know, the other day I was at a smaller meeting like this where a couple of friends were joined together. And one of my colored friends said, I said, I'm ready to fight. And he said, I don't want you to fight. I'm afraid you're going to get hurt. And I said, I know who I am. I know who I am. And I asked Celeste and Senator Curtis to know who you are, know why you got into this fight. Fight for all of us. You know, whether we're Republican, whether we're Democrats, it doesn't matter. Those are small things. We all have different agendas, different opinions. This is a big thing. We need to protect our democracy.
Yes.
She was 126, so 130 is next.
Okay, great.
Did I miss 122?
Yeah, I'm like
Okay.
22.
So we're gonna put you right here. Right in next. Sorry about that, I got erasers out.
Okay.
Please speak directly into the microphone because we are recording this and the soft voices will not pick up. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Pam Layton, and I'm going to tell you a story about something that's very important to me. In 1969, a landmark television series was initiated. Maybe some of you are familiar with it. It's Sesame Street. And things like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Some of those things. I was a graduate student at that time, and so I chose to write my dissertation on the impact of Sesame Street. And the whole idea was to elevate preparatory knowledge for little kids who are of different socioeconomic levels. And 56 years later, Sesame Street is still doing that. Hard to believe. So I proved that many, many years ago to my own